Hello and welcome to Wolfman Gaming. This is my Callisto Protocol maximum security walkthrough, and this video is part 2, where we will be going through the second half of the 6th chapter. That was a hard sentence to say. And the very first thing we're gonna do is grab that box over on the other side and pick up what's inside. Which is some credits, which is always nice. And when you're going down here, make sure you crouch, because you see me aiming down there. There are a bunch of blind ones. So make sure you stay crouched. As long as you stay crouched, they will not trigger, and stay clear of the walls. It almost sounded like one of them got activated. And if you want to pick up extra resources, feel free to activate them. But at this point, if you follow this guide and manage to stay at full health, you should have quite sufficient funds. And as soon as you shimmy through that tight place, or that tight area, you are completely safe. They will not follow you in here, and they can't hear you going in here either. And there you saw a very shitty transition. And that is because that spitter. The first time I came in here, I kept an eye on what he did. And if he doesn't notice you, he will go down to the right and vanish into a vent, I think. And I let him go, and he vanished, and I tried to move on, and some crawler enemy, or not crawlers, sorry, those explosive enemies will be in the next room. And they came, and I started shooting at them, everything went well, and he hit me in the back. And there was no way I could edit it so it would look somewhat smoothly. So I'm sorry about that. It looks like absolute dog shit, but sorry, a very loud car just drove past outside. And I also told a lie. It's not even the explosive fellas, it's just mutilated biophages. I could have sworn. But sometimes I'm wrong. And also, we could say that it's in relation to all the blind ones. I didn't have time I usually watch through these videos prior to narrating them. This time I did not have time to do so, so I'm doing this semi-blindly. I know what's gonna happen, because of course I've recorded and edited this, but not everything in this video is, how should I say this, fresh in my memory. I did scroll through it quickly, but either way, we will get through this together. And as I said, in this level, towards the end of it, we're gonna fight our first real boss in this game. And speaking of boss fights, I talked in a previous video that I started playing Metroid Dread, and I've continued to do so in between these narrations. And yes, something I'm gonna say. There is a trophy for fully upgrading a weapon. I've said that the cheapest weapon to fully upgrade is the hand cannon. This is actually the place where I did it. Prior to that store, I made a manual save. I fully upgraded the hand cannon, and then I reloaded my save. You don't have to do it there. That was just the place where I decided to do it. So if you're going for that trophy, make sure to do so. I don't think it's worth keeping the maximum upgrade for the hand cannon. That's something I talked about in the previous video. So make sure to reload your save afterwards. So save that money and put that into the grip glove instead. And this place I'm going into now. This is actually back in, I think it was chapter 3. we went into a secret room and picked up a recording. And I talked about that there is a trophy in this game called the Commonality for finding out the secret of Callipolis. And this is the second secret room that I'm heading to right now. And I've done some research. I said in that video that you should pick up, there's an audio log inside the room. And there is one in this room as well, and that is what triggers the trophies. You have to pick up the audio logs in both these rooms for the Commonality trophy to register and unlock. Here I was a bit nervous because I wanted to see if I could get past that blind one without triggering him. And as you can see, it worked great, and there was also one to the left over there, but I didn't feel like going into a fight for once. But since I try to avoid combat, of course I walk straight into this guy. But he's alone and soon to be dead. That's the thing with the blind ones. Even though if you trigger them, they aren't very damage resistant. They are actually one of the absolute weakest enemies, I think, in this game, except for the slugs or the explosive fellas. So when you engage, or if you engage the blind ones, which will probably happen once or twice. By the way, there is the audio log, and as soon as you pick that up, presuming that you picked up the first one, the trophy, the Commonality, should pop. And of course, make sure to pick this place clean before we go out, because the boss fight that is towards the end of this level, I would say the absolutely recommend. I've said this before, I might sound like an old broken record, but I highly recommend, if you haven't done so already, make sure to upgrade your riot gun or riot shotgun so you have the magnum rounds. Do not do the final upgrade, it is overpriced and underwhelming. Sink all that money into upgrading your grip glove instead. And when it comes to the grip glove, I think I'm gonna upgrade right now. Yes, the recharge speed, I think. Yes. Because the boss fight coming up is technically 3 phases, and the grip glove I'm gonna use during the first phase. It will make that phase, because then we'll fight almost said fight wives of enemies. Fight waves of enemies was the word I was gonna say. And I think they are of male gender, since this is a prison. A men's prison even. So we are gonna fight waves of enemies. And the grip glove is great because we are gonna fight them on the platform that you saw in part 1 of this chapter. And you can actually throw them over the side and insta-kill them, which will make it go a lot quicker instead of engaging in melee combat. But you will see exactly what I mean when we get there. First we need to get there. We need to activate the power so we can activate the platform. And when this activates, one of the enemies will show up right there. So we just throw him into the spike wall like so. Make the process short, as you say in Swedish. And then I like to pick up this guy and throw him, apparently into thin air, because this game is a little bit buggy still. Sometimes enemies clip on thin air, and I don't know why that happens. I don't know if it's the geography that's off or what the problem is. But down here you will actually see me resetting a checkpoint. And that is not an editing mistake on my behalf. Because we are going to use that. If anyone has watched my The Last of Us 2 walkthrough, in one or two places I showed you how to reset checkpoints to push back enemy spawns. Which made things a little bit easier because you could move your character up into a better position to get past the spawn points. And the thing I'm gonna do here is basically the same thing, because when we open this door and move into the next area, a bunch of blind ones will spawn in. But if you reset the checkpoint, because there is a checkpoint just after you pull that lever.
Not that one.
I will show you. So we pull the lever.
Okay, one to go.
We get the checkpoint marker down there, so I'm gonna restart the checkpoint. Like so. And then I'm gonna run. Because that makes me come up to the door just as it is about to open. And the enemies don't spawn until the door is open. Which allows me, as soon as I get in through the door, I start crouching so none of the blind ones can hear me. And this allows me to move up to where I am right now, because none of the enemies... Ooh, that was close. The enemies will walk around this square thing in the middle. So if you stay a little bit back, you can basically just sit here and have... I almost said a shooting gallery, but that's not a correct term, like a stabbing gallery. I think when I first realized that this worked, I once managed to move into a position. I didn't even move out of where I sat down. I just stabbed them as they moved past, and in the end I had like waist high pile of biophage corpses just in front of me. Like this is the life. This is the lazy man's hero work. That became quite anticlimactic, that sentence. But either way, I think this is the last one, at least of the initial wave. Do not stand up just yet, because I think one or two more will spawn in when we move further into this room. And as I've said before, and you probably noticed as well, when you're in a room with blind ones, that's another interesting thing, that the only things they can hear is you walking, running, or gunshots. They can't even hear you stomping on corpses, which is a very odd design choice from the developers. But it's one of those things I always make sure to use to my advantage, and so should you. But this is the last breaker. Now all the fuses are activated, or all the cables are activated, and we can head back to the platform and get out of this area. And how you choose to approach this is entirely up to you. I like to do the fast approach. If you want to, you can stab all the enemies going back. What you want to do is follow that glowing cable. There are a bunch of blind ones over to my right. If you want extra resources, take your time, take them out. The path I'm showing you right now is a bit faster. All I'm doing is following the cable and sneaking past all the enemies. I did it for no other reason than the fact that to make this go a little bit quicker, and I felt that I was quite good on resources. I have a bunch of money, I have a lot of ammunition, and also before we go into the boss fight, make sure to stock up on more ammo. Because I've said the bosses are quite tanky. They love to sponge your bullets. And this fella, just to make sure I like to throw him into the spikes just to make sure I don't draw the attention of the other enemies behind us. Because if you end up in a scrap with him, and they for some reason hear you, you will have, assuming you haven't killed them, you will have like 5 or 6 blind ones running up behind you. And since Jacob doesn't block swings coming in from behind, that could spell trouble. And here you want to take it slow, because a bunch of enemies will spawn in. They will come in from the right, and also 1 or 2 from the left. So don't be too quick. I've tried moving through this part fast. I tried running through it, and I took unnecessary damage. And this is the last hurdle before we get to the boss. All we need to do is get through that hole in the wall, back to the platform. And the boss is... Where the hell did you come from? The boss is, I would say, very easy. But it's very unnecessary to take any risks now. And I was trying to speed things up because I wanted I wanted to get there. But try to not use... I would actually recommend you don't use your grip glove taking these guys out. Take your time, stab them whenever you have an opportune moment. This guy just refuses to turn around. So we're starting to get annoyed. Threw him into the spikes. Just to show him who's the boss. But as I said, in phase 1 in the boss fight or pre-boss fight, whatever you want to call it, I am gonna use the grip glove quite a lot. Just because it makes things go smoother, easier, and a lot quicker. And this is a scripted event, so you will not take any damage. But this is your chance to stock up. And after you have taken out the waves of enemies and the boss comes in, there is a checkpoint. I would actually recommend only keep 2 medkits and buy a bunch of shotgun ammo. Also, if you have grip battery packs, that's great. And I'm gonna have the shotgun equipped. Do not use it during the first phase. Save every shotgun shell for the true boss. And when you feel that you're ready, activate the platform. And also remember, there are loot chests here. Now you can open them. I recommend let them be closed until you need them. Because now enemies are gonna spawn in from the sides. They're gonna crawl over the railing. And there's a lot of debris flying around in this air. And it seems that that hurts the enemies. So they go into mutation. I try to pick up as many as I can and just throw them over the rails. Never hold them. I've talked about that your grip glove battery will drain super fast if you try to hold them. Just pick them up, angle them upwards, and throw them immediately. As soon as they're over the railing, they're dead. They cannot come crawling back or anything like that. And just keep moving. You want to catch them as close to the railing as possible, so you don't have to pick them up twice, because that will cost extra resources. And if you end up in a situation where you run out of battery, don't panic, just resort to your stun baton. Because this is easy, and you also get a few seconds of downtime in between the different spawns, or in between the different waves. And I think there is a total of 5 waves. I'm not entirely sure. But now it has recharged, and that is also a great thing. If you have upgraded your recharge speed and also the battery size, that will make this significantly easier. And when you run out of enemies, you will go into like 30 seconds a minute of downtime where nothing happens. That is your chance to run around and open these loot boxes before the boss spawns in. So after these waves, I think it's 5. I should have checked this video and counted them. Yes, just count the waves. Sorry, my brain didn't brain for a few seconds. But you can run around, pick up the loot boxes if there's anything you need. And if you don't need anything, if you haven't used any medkits or anything, just go into the boss fight and unleash hell on him with your shotgun shells that you hopefully have stocked up on. Because you will be going through quite a few of them in this fight. And I think that was the last wave. So I'm gonna insert a new grip battery. Nope. I got a bit lucky there. And as you can see, you can throw the enemies in whichever direction you want to. Throw them off the sides, throw them at the front, at the back, whatever. Just pick the one that's closest to your location. Make sure they go over and out, so to speak. Or you can just punch them over. And there you saw the little cigarette burn down in the corner. That means you have reached the checkpoint and the waves are done. That's your cue. Immediately run around, and if you have taken damage, go through the loot chest, pick up any loot you need. And make sure you have the shotgun equipped and fully loaded. Because 2-head is, and that I know is actually the official name of the boss, 2-head. And as soon as you see him, you're gonna know exactly why. Here we have him. He is, I think, the very definition of ugly. And 2-head is like a normal enemy. Make sure you pull to the side, or pull the stick to the side, so you dodge his swings. He always does single swings. He can't do combos. So what you want to do is just trade with him. Let him swing, fire once. Let him swing, fire once. Do never try to fire twice, because if he hits you, it is an instant kill. He will clock you and kill you in one hit. So never get greedy, and just repeat this process. Dodge, shoot. Dodge, shoot. And while he's tearing up his body, I don't think I fired at him. I actually think he has iframes during that process, so don't shoot him then. That's just a waste of ammo, I think, so that was a mistake on my behalf. And when you are aiming your gun, when you're aiming downside like I'm doing right now, then you can't dodge. So make sure as soon as you have fired, let go of the aim button. This is really important. Otherwise he will kill you. And this is not a very fun boss fight, I must say. Because he is so easy. And the second time he falls to his knees, he's almost a dead man, but dead mutant, dead monster. whatever you want to call it. And make sure to loot his corpse to pick up a CPU printer, which you can sell for quite a lot of credits, I think. And now that the boss fight is over and done with, make sure to run around. Do not leave any of these corpses unstomped, of course. And if there are any chests left that you haven't opened and looted through, make sure to do so as well. If your inventory is full, that is very sad. But I would recommend sell bullets, hand cannon bullets, or a med kit. It's better to actually get rid of a grip battery pack. That is not something I condone. As I've said, grip battery packs are the only resource you cannot buy from the stores. You have to pick them up off enemies, so I don't know why I got rid of one of them. Ah, smart Wolfman. I could load the shells into my gun so I could pick up the battery pack. Actually, looking back at this, I should probably have dropped handgun bullets and picked up the battery instead. But going through that door, we have beaten chapter 6. So now we only have 2 chapters left. But I want to thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again in my next video. So until next time, this is the Wolfman signing off.